Buongiorno a tutti, allora molto rapidamente iniziamo la seconda giornata di Salone, il programma inizia adesso e terminerà indicativamente intorno alle ore 13. Al termine dei lavori vi invitiamo ancora a rimanere per chi può, siamo contenti anche di avere un momento conviviale post Salone tutti insieme. Questa mattina iniziamo con un collegamento con il Segretario Generale di Leaseurope, che è la federazione delle società di leasing a livello europeo, Richard Knuben, e poi abbiamo due tavole rotonde su due temi importantissimi che sono già stati anche toccati un pochino ieri, il PNRR e la sostenibilità. Quindi questo è un pochino il programma della giornata di oggi. A questo punto io invito il Presidente Carlo Mescieri a salire sul palco per il collegamento con Richard Knuben. Chiedo alla regia di attivare il collegamento. Ecco.
Sì, se ho 2 minuti prima del collegamento. Good morning, Richard. Good morning.
Good morning, Carlo.
Good morning. Let me speak 2 words regarding the program of yesterday to the floor. Then I will introduce you to our colleagues. Ieri abbiamo presentato i tre temi su cui Asilea sta lavorando negli ultimi 12 mesi. Negli ultimi 18 mesi, con una concentrazione di sforzi negli ultimi 12 mesi, e sono il Capital Requirements, la CRR3, cioè l'implementazione dei principi di Basilea 3+, nella CRR3, i cui lavori dovrebbero terminare in questi giorni, al massimo in queste settimane. Poi abbiamo parlato del processo di adeguamento degli standard contabili internazionali ai principi contabili nazionali e ho espresso gli auspici condivisi tra l'altro dal dottor Antonio Pattuelli, presidente dell'ABI, e poi il PNRR, perché a nostro giudizio il leasing è eligibile, si adatta ai progetti del PNRR. Bene, questo per dire della giornata di ieri. Adesso io sono lieto di presentare il segretario generale di Leaseurope, Richard Knuben, all'Asilea. Richard, good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to thank you very much for joining our annual meeting, and in Vienna during the Leaseurope annual meeting I explained to you the reason why in Italy we call Salone del Leasing. This is the annual event for Asilea. Yesterday afternoon I stressed the concept regarding the relationship between Asilea and Leaseurope, and all of us are very, very pleased to underline the fact that the relationship has been strengthened in the last 12-18 months. And I'd like to thank you for this and for the way you managed the General Assembly in Vienna. Not only because it was a meeting sparkling. You can remember.
Sparkling, yes.
Yeah, sparkling. Okay, Richard, thanks again for joining our annual meeting. I'd like to ask you some questions regarding the fact that yesterday we hosted very important figures in the European and national scenario. We hosted the president of Italian Banking Association, Dr. Antonio Pattuelli, the deputy of Italian Banking Association, Dr. Gianfranco Torriero, who gave us a very important and big support. Then we hosted a manager of the Economic and Finance Minister, Mr. Silvio D'Amico. In Italy, we call this minister MEF, M-E-F, but you know the meaning of the acronym MEF. Then I am trying to do my best not forgetting someone. We hosted also the number 2 of the National Supervision Bank of Italy Department, Mr. Andrea Pilati, who is member of EBA. And today we are waiting for another European member of the Parliament, Onorevole Marco Zanni, who is flying from Brussels to Milano, and we are going to see him around midday. So, Richard, I'd like to start with a question, and you are really free to say everything to the floor. I'd like to inform you that there are a lot of people connected and following our event in streaming. Okay, so yesterday, Mrs. Tinagli indicated in a public speech that leasing is going to be subject of the mandate to EBA. Okay? She said that. Nothing else. No other details. I'd like to start my questions to you asking, when do you expect the draft of trilogues is going to be released? When? A matter of days, weeks,
I thought you were
or
going
months?
to start with an easy question. Well, look, in principle, there is an agreed text in the Parliament side, and there is an agreed text on the Council side. So it is our expectation that the formal side of this will be rounded up, and we will have the text more or less as we know it today. So we're not really expecting significant changes anymore at this stage. We would have preferred it to have been finished already by now. That was our initial expectation. But there have been some delays for various political reasons. So we are expecting this now to be finished under the Belgian presidency, so that it would go into 2024, the first half of 2024. Hopefully the beginning of 2024 that we would have an agreement.
Sorry, beginning of?
2024, this
okay.
is the expectation right now. Again, there's not really, to our knowledge at least, there aren't really any problematic issues with regards to the issues that we care about, but there are other political reasons for why the process might be delayed. So once that's all official and finalized, then we need to start looking at the EBA study and how that will be constructed, because it is critical for us that that is done properly and that moves forward within a reasonable time scale, of course.
Yesterday, Richard, I stressed two concerns, and you already know my, in the sense of Asilea concerns, Italian leasing industry concerns. Okay, subject to the fact that leasing is going to be mandated to EBA. Okay, we consider that's it. My two concerns, and I expressed these two concerns in presence of Bank of Italy and MEF. First of all, considering the number of mandates to EBA, 136, you told me in Vienna, 136? Is it correct? 136 mandate?
It's a bit more than that. But I mean, these are all the mandates given to the EBA for all different sectors.
136 mandati all'EBA, no? L'EBA, per tutto l'impegno che ci possono mettere, impiegherà 3 anni, 4 anni a evadere I think that it'll take 3 years, 4 years to manage so large number of mandates. For the time being, January 2025, penalization included in the legislative proposal of the European Commission are going to be frozen or not? Let me underline the importance of the concept also in Italian. Se l'EBA impiega 4-5 anni, le penalizzazioni ricomprese nella proposta legislativa della Commissione europea, che per la parte, noi siamo interessati al leasing ovviamente, per la parte di leasing mobiliare ci sono, ma non sono così letali come invece sono per l'immobiliare, soprattutto il costruendo nel periodo del cantiere. Questo vale anche per i mutui ipotecari. La proposta legislativa della Commissione europea comprende un assorbimento di capitale per il periodo del cantiere del 150%, oggi è il 100%, un 150% pesa come il default, no? Io ho chiesto al dottor Toriero, ma le banche non sono preoccupate? Il problema è che nel mondo bancario i mutui ipotecari commerciali rappresentano il 3-4%, da noi rappresenta il 30%, quindi il peso è indubbiamente diverso. So, from your side in Brussels, have you got some rumors regarding the fact that penalization will be frozen, yes or not?
Well, maybe we should take one step back. Assuming everything will move forward as we expect it to move forward, we have a bit of a disconnect between the intention on paper and what might happen in reality. You pointed out that indeed the EBA has an enormous amount of mandates on its desk, and we have also been told by the EBA as Leaseurope that if we want the EBA to work through this a little bit faster, we will have to come together at European level and essentially help them with that. So we have to collect a lot of information. We have to provide supporting evidence. The more supporting evidence that we can provide to the EBA, the more will help them to finalize this study and possibly also finalize it faster. Now, the idea of the transitional regime is indeed that there is enough time for the EBA to finish its studies, to reach conclusions, and to make decisions on the basis of those conclusions. Now, the reality is that with all the other work that they have to do, they might not actually meet those deadlines. So what we have to now discuss in Brussels is as well, how exactly will that work and how are we supposed to interpret that? So on paper, there shouldn't really be a problem, because if it's mandated in 24, theoretically, they could then start on it immediately and finish it up on time before the transitional period ends. The reality is that might not happen simply because of the enormous amount of work that they have to work through and the limited resources that they have. So one, Leaseurope, together with its members, including Asilea, will have to play a big role in providing them all the evidence that they need in order to complete their study within a reasonable time frame. Two, we have to clarify exactly what will happen with proposed transition timelines should that study run into some kind of delays or any other thing that might happen that might push us over those deadlines. But in principle, the idea is, of course, that this would be done before anything else kicks in. That at least is the basic idea. But we have a lot of work ahead of us with the institutions as well as the EBA in 2024, that's for sure.
Ieri io ho spiegato che questa preoccupazione, adesso in linguaggio abbastanza familiare, io la risolverei in maniera molto semplice. Then I will tell you in English. Se le tre autorità politiche, le tre autorità politiche europee, Commissione, Consiglio e Europarlamento, non raggiungono un'intesa level 1, a livello 1, perché se le tre raggiungono l'intesa, la norma diventa legge e andrà in Gazzetta Ufficiale prima della fine anno. Se le tre autorità, proprio perché non hanno raggiunto l'intesa, demandano all'EBA, organo tecnico, no, la gestione del problema, leasing, perché a noi interessa il leasing, io trovo logico che le penalizzazioni previste dalla Commissione europea vengano bloccate. Burocrazia, no? Perché abbiamo il leasing standard in un articolo, l'immobiliare costruito commerciale in un altro e la gestione dei cantieri in un altro ancora. Ecco, mentre l'ABI avevamo condiviso questa preoccupazione e loro sono dalla nostra parte, il MEF ieri, non in pubblico, ma ha detto no, dice è vero, effettivamente è così. Il rappresentante della Banca d'Italia, il numero 2 del Dipartimento bancario e finanziario, ha detto per quanto ne so, noi dalla Commissione abbiamo l'obbligo ancora del rispetto del 1° gennaio 2025. Quindi il 1° gennaio 2025 entrano in vigore le nuove norme che non solo col leasing danno un po' un giro di vite, no? Quindi l'uomo della Banca d'Italia ha detto io come informazione ho ancora questa. Yesterday, Richard, I spoke with the manager of MEF and Bank of Italy, and to be fully transparent with you, the man of MEF explained to me the work done in the meetings inside the council, and I informed him about what you told me in Vienna. All the European leasing associations, okay, agreed on the 12 instances which were presented to the European authorities, okay? And he said, it's a right consideration. Let me take my time. To be fully transparent with you, the man of Bank of Italy said, for what I am informed, European Commission wants to respect January the 1st, 2025. It means that the penalization will work starting from, in my opinion, and I know that you agree with me because we analyzed this in Vienna before the Leaseurope event. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to apply to a technical third body, and meantime, the penalization which will start to perform, no? To perform. To be fully transparent with you, the man of Bank of Italy said, for what I am informed, it's a must to respect the January 2025. An ally of ours could be the time, and they mentioned. I am pondering the words. They mentioned the fact that they would like to see also the US, the American new regulation regarding the top 10 banks in the United States. Just to be fully transparent with you.
So we have been told by various civil servants from other European member states who are a bit more hesitant in terms of timings that they would like to first see indeed what comes out of the US. I mean, there are some more skeptical countries who basically argue, why does Europe always need to be the first? Why are we always the best boy in class? And the US more or less does what it wants. I think there is definitely this, this is not just in financial services, but there's a general sentiment, whether it's trade policy or financial policy, that the different parts of the world are becoming little fortresses again. We're shifting a little bit away from globalization, and everybody's trying to get ahead. So there is indeed a sentiment that maybe we should first see what the US does, what they actually implement, and based on that, we take our decisions. Now, there are a few member states who have that view. To what extent that is expressed formally in the meetings, we know it's expressed informally, but that's not the official view, let's say, of the Council. But definitely, this is on the mind of a number of member states, and this could potentially be part of the reason for delayed implementation. Now, mind you, this is a general delay then, so this is not specifically to any of the leasing issues that we're discussing. It's actually, I think in this context, they're not even really thinking about the leasing specific issues. It's more the general banking framework, and does it put Europe potentially at a disadvantage vis-a-vis the United States when it comes to more strict capital requirements. But I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. It's very difficult to say to what extent this will be pushed through or will have an actual effect on the negotiations. Unfortunately, I couldn't give you a timeline on that. If I could, I probably could become a very rich man gambling on these issues.
I understand that you are not Italian, and you are reluctant. You are reluctant to consider the time as an ally when the time could provoke some positive advantages. But I would like to remind you of the fact that the new regulation, initially, the start date had to be January the 1st, 2024, and then it was brought forward to 1 year later. You are not Italian, I am Italian, and we count on this burden of work which could favor some delay in the schedule.
Yeah, so going back to the general principle, I mean, I don't see an immediate opposition to the concept of if something is deferred to the EBA, that they first have to be able to finish their work before any transitional arrangement is ended. So if there is a transitional arrangement, that of course should be in place up until the point that the thing that ends the transitional arrangement is actually completed, which is in this case the EBA study. Clearly, we have to do a lot of work here, and you're absolutely right that we are already outside of the originally foreseen timeline for Basel III, and any potential delays that might be incurred from here on will have an obvious effect on those timelines. I'm not so sure that the general view is so black and white that it says 25, so it has to be 25. I think there is, there are plenty of member states that take a reasonable view on this, and transition is exactly that, right? You are in a hold pattern up until the next decision is taken. Now, as to the whole issue of delays potentially caused by the impact of the discussions in the United States or other parts of the world, as I said, that is a consideration. Now, to what extent that consideration actually will change things, that is very difficult for me to say. That's all I mean. So it's not like I'm in favor or against. I'm just trying to make a calculation of where will this go in the next 2 to 3 months, and it's too difficult to say, well, it will definitely have this or this impact, or it will delay it by so many months. It's impossible for me to say that.
Voi capite che è molto importante che le penalizzazioni fossero bloccate. Naturalmente non è che le autorità ne possono fare un'eccezione per il leasing, no? Bisogna tenere conto anche di scenari molto più ampi. Irene Tinagli ha mandato un messaggio ancora ai tempi della nostra assemblea, il 10 maggio, e ha sottolineato che il leasing meriterebbe un assorbimento di capitale più favorevole dei finanziamenti tradizionali. Questa è stata molto chiara e l'ha ribadito anche ieri. Naturalmente dice sempre in Europa le negoziazioni, uso le sue parole, sono sempre molto ampie e molto complesse. Quindi, e poi il dottor Patuelli mi dice sempre, si ricorda i mestieri, che in Europa le idee giuste da sole non fanno strada, quindi bisogna trovare delle alleanze, delle convergenze di interessi. Richard, last question. You know where Asilea focused its action, standard methodology, and according to the official speech of Mrs. Tinagli, we think to have got it. Quindi lo standard, la metodologia standard, che in Italia è la prevalente, viene trattata non alla stessa maniera della metodologia interna avanzata, ma viene demandata all'EBA anche la metodologia standard, che altrimenti avrebbe preso le penalizzazioni iniziali. Quindi questo è un fatto. The second topic where we focused our action, Richard, as you know, is the real estate, when real estate is instrumental and not speculative. Ieri abbiamo sottolineato più volte che l'immobiliare nostro del leasing è un immobiliare strumentale, e quando, faccio l'esempio, il capannone per l'imprenditore, per la PMI, per l'artigiano è strumentale alla sua attività, il capannone è un fattore della produzione né più e né meno di una macchina utensile o di un computer. Quindi non si deve pensare al rischio implicito nel mercato immobiliare del real estate, ma il rischio dipende dalle condizioni finanziarie del cliente. Se il cliente è in condizioni finanziarie tali da poter pagare, far fronte alle proprie obbligazioni, il trend del mercato immobiliare è una cosa che riguarda l'immobiliare speculativo. Third topic, Richard, is represented by the possibility to freeze the penalization waiting for EBA. If we consider if something is not included in the mandate to EBA, what can we do? Se qualcosa non viene inserito nel mandato all'EBA del leasing, cosa possiamo fare? What can we do? We Asilea in Italy and you Leaseurope in Brussels.
Well,
to pray.
As I said, the text as we have it right now, that's more or less a done deal. So we do expect the EBA mandates to go ahead, both for IRB and for standardized approach. What will happen from the moment that this is actually, let's say, official, we will start a discussion with the EBA to see exactly how do they intend to structure their studies, what are they going to look at, what do they need from us. So what we can then do, once it's very clear what they need, for which sectors, what kind of data that they need, our role will first and foremost be with the ABA to provide them exactly with that. So that will focus on everything in general. So all the key issues that are shared by all the member states. But obviously various markets have different sectors that are a bit bigger or a bit more significant than other sectors. And we will have to highlight those. So there's a role for each national association to collect the data that we need so that we can aggregate it at European level and share it with the EBA. But of course, if you have very specific data on a specific topic, then we can also act as a gateway to share that directly with the EBA. So I guess if you say what's the key thing that we can actually do, it's data collection and data analysis. That's where it will come down to. Because again, also looking at the timeline, a lot of the data, and I think this is a really key issue, a lot of the data that the EBA will need in order to reach a conclusion that, hopefully is the conclusion that we wanted to reach, which is leasing is in fact a lower risk activity compared to lots of other forms of finance, particular loans. They don't necessarily have that data. I mean, they're not data sets that they can just easily pull from a database that they have. So it will have to come from data collected already by national associations, but many national associations don't necessarily collect that kind of data either for various competition reasons. It's too difficult to store, it's too difficult to harmonize or aggregate. So it will also have to come to a large extent from major banking groups and as well the smaller mid-tier segment of leasing companies, because at the end of the day, when they conduct a study like this, it's going to have to be an across-the-board analysis, right? So it's not only going to be, oh, well, this suits your largest bank lessor, and now it's fine. It's going to have to be a snapshot of how your market is structured. So if for, let's say, 60% of your market is major banking lessors and 40% is smaller ones, then that data will also have to reflect that. It will have to come both from that 60% as well as from that 40%. So unfortunately, I fear we'll be looking at a lot of Excel sheets and data analysis tools in order to make it as readable and harmonized as possible, because at the end of the day, they will have to look at data from Italy, but they will also have to look at data from Austria, from Germany, from France, the Netherlands, the Benelux. It's all going to have to be comparable. So it's less politics from that point onwards, and it's more data analytics from that point forward. And this is very key, a willingness from the industry to also share that data, because I mean, Leaseurope and Asilea, we're in the same boat, right? We turn to Asilea for input, but you have to turn to your members in the room today for input. And if those members in the room cannot provide the input that we need, it will be a lot more difficult to actually influence the EBA. Influence is the wrong word. To support the EBA in the way that we need it to be supported. So at the end of the day, it actually comes down to market intelligence that we can collect and the quality and the level of granularity of the market intelligence.
From the Italian side, let me give you a piece of advice. Please continue putting pressure on the European leasing associations, which in their turn put pressure on their relative economic and financial ministry. We'll do the same in Italy, and the same question I ask you, I will ask to the Italian European Member of Parliament, Marco Zanni, when around midday he will join us. And then I will give you information about his answer, okay?
Okay.
Okay, Richard, many thanks for joining our annual event. I am really proud and pleased to have hosted to the Asilea annual event. Many thanks e in Italian.